So welcome to Gema's 12 Days of Thriftmas, and what we're looking to do in this entire series is make stuff, and well, in other words, kindly to the earth and also on a bit of a budget and in a way that we show love towards Rod. Rod's in all of them, well nearly all of them. Are you in all of them? Yeah, he's in all of them. So I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, you. Everyone's heard of Christmas jumper day, or if you're in the US, Christmas sweater day, or even season. The point is you can buy them anywhere, but if you can take an old jumper and use some bits around the house and make it personal to you at the same time, why wouldn't you do that? It's good fun as well. I am going to do mine on my sewing machine, but if you want to do it by hand, you can. In fact, I might do that on the blog later on so that you can see how to do it there. You'll also need little bits and pieces like thread and something to print off on and maybe an acrylic pen, or I use friction pens if they show on the material. In other words, if you've got a dark friction pen and you've got light material, then that will iron off afterwards. What you want to start with is an idea. So maybe you want to talk about your nan always using inappropriate words on Scrabble, or your dad starting on the brandy too early, or your mum always burning the Brussels sprouts. Whatever it is, you can use that as inspiration. Take that idea, think about an expression that you want to write, make it personal to you, that's the whole point of this. And then print something off on a piece of paper, transfer it onto the jumper, and then move that to the sewing machine or to a needle and thread and make it permanent. I have printed off some words that mean something to me with regards to Roddy. I've used a font that is cursive or scriptive because then it flows from one letter to the next. So it's much easier to sew without having to stop between letters. And all I want to do is take those words, I cut them out so they're separate from each other, and then it's easier to find placement on the jumper. And pin them both onto the back of the jumper and then transfer them with the pens, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. Get another pin, and essentially all you're doing is pricking all the way around each of those letters to create like a stencil really. Don't join them up, just dot all the way through all of the letters, and then we're ready to put the paint through those dots. So I've finished. I've gone through every single letter and on the second word as well, and it's ready for me to go through that with acrylic pen. Now, before we start this process, I would recommend that to protect the surface you're working on, just put some oven-proof paper underneath. Because obviously if you don't do that, it'll go straight through those holes and onto whatever surface you're working on. Yeah, it's ready to go. Are you ready? I'm ready. Pen isn't, hold on. I'm ready. Okay, A first. You can see I'm not actually writing over it. I'm doing the exact same thing as I did when I was making the dots, in that I am dotting the ink over it. So I've gone over both of those words, or what I like to call my stencil, with my acrylic pen, and it does dry rather quickly. Maybe give it a couple of minutes, but I think we're ready for the big reveal. So what we're left with is actually something really quite faint, but it's not meant to be seen. It's just meant for our purposes to use as a guideline, so it's perfect for starting the sewing bit. So I'm just going to set up my machine and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so I've set myself up with my sewing machine, and I've also done what I would recommend you do before getting to this point, which is practice with your stitch length, with your stitch type. It could be that you want to use a running stitch or a satin stitch or a zigzag stitch. However you want to do it, make sure you've done it on something else before you go to the proper garment, obviously. So I'm going to start with a straight stitch because I'm at the end of a letter, and then I'm going to go into a zigzag stitch with specific settings. Okay, I'm going to get going. Less talking, more sewing. So what I'm doing as I sew is making sure that I'm staying over the text as much as possible. Obviously you might find if you've got a jumper that moves around, you know, it's obviously it's going to because this jumper is stretchy material, you might want to put some sort of interfacing underneath before you start sewing. Just means it won't move around quite as much. So this is going to take me a couple of minutes. So why don't you just go and make yourself a cup of tea and I'll be back with you in a minute. Okay, bye, bye. Well, I finished his Christmas jumper. He's all ready for the Christmas season. Just looking at some in the paper. Look at this one, Rod, it's £90. This one's £890. And I only wear it once. And it's not even personal. So, still quite sunny. You want to go out, don't you?